when you have an enormous amount of material, a lot of times the thing that can be the most paralyzing, at least for me, is that infinite number of choices. And so trying to find a way to narrow the choices and narrow really the point of view. And that's something that I come back to over and over again, throughout the course of my career. And so in this, I was in trying to create my first approach was to take that act of the fire making and create that as like a spine for the entire scene, and then cross-cutting back and forth in a nonlinear way to have it. There were a couple of moments that I thought visually sunk up pretty nicely. There are moments where he's trying to breathe to warm Leonardo, and matching up with him breathing into the fire. Just visual things that to me were parallels of him trying to build the fire at the same time he's trying to heal Leonardo. So I did that attempt. And of course, it just didn't hold together. It wasn't clear. And essentially, what was happening is we were going into a dream or a hallucination reality too soon. And that's what Alejandro's reaction to that was, is that it just felt like instead of building in a more formal way, we were immediately being thrust into a completely objective or subjective experience.
No, I mean, I loved how he eased into this whole subjective thing. And the one thing I noticed was the way you used sound and the absence of sound. First, did you play with? Obviously, this is score. Did you work without score for a while? Did you play it just on its own? Almost,
it's one of the reasons I also chose the sequences. There, every now and then there are sequences where you as the editor, you're always painting with all the different materials, whether it's the performances, the sound, the sound effects, the music, and this was a sequence that really what I put forth in the temp ended up being what we used in the end. So all the sound of the tree, and in fact, it became something that Alejandro became so attached to the emotional impact. There's a tone that goes through the whole piece that is drowned out at the very beginning, but only starts to emerge towards the end. And again, to me, that the shape of that, how that's happening, is also matches the shape of the point of view as it's shifting as well. And so there are things like that.
But even the way the subjective nature of the sound.
Exactly.
It's very interesting.
And it's true. It's so vital, and it's one of those things that you become unconscious of it as you're doing it, as an editor, as you're performing these, and it's only afterwards that sometimes you're able to even come back and analyze and even recognize what you've done.
This was a scene that was in terrible trouble. It just didn't work, and it was Maudlin, it's Steve Carell and Marissa Tomei, and Carell was I don't know if you guys how many of you guys have seen this. He was a Lord of the Universe, and the whole world comes crashing down on him. And when he was articulating that, when he was actually saying the words, it just rang false. So what I decided to do was just get rid of words. And if somebody was really hurting and he or she was speaking, well, with Carell, I would rather not hear what they were saying. So it would be like speakingness or painfulness, as opposed to hearing specific words. And it's something I would encourage you guys to do. Sync, as you heard before, to me is highly overrated. You can, they're just basically what Steve and I do is create moods. I saw even like the bell ringing. I just loved. Exactly. I loved how you don't hear things. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And you have, as a matter of fact, when you have too much sound, sometimes it really grounds your scene. And it makes the stuff you're working on really leaden.
Some of my most interesting, to me, work comes from total failures on the set, right? Where nobody could quite figure out what a scene was about. Nobody could figure out, but because everybody is so focused and everybody is giving 100%, there's always some kernel of truth, and that's what you lock into, and that's what you base the whole scene on, right? I mean, all of
With a
the
different soundscape.
all of the introduction into the scene, all of the EQs that were going on, that was all stuff that I built into it. Even
That's what you turned over.
Exactly, and even the things that are going on outside, like that's a piece of music that Alejandro gave to me. He said, I like this, I want to use something. And what I responded to from it was, in that piece of music, you can hear these birds, but they've been warped in a way that, to me, it's an abstraction of what a bird sounds like. And so again, there is a poetry to that.
So those damn ants again.
And
right?
exactly, and it becomes almost impossible. It's like an actor who's having to do ADR. It almost becomes impossible to ape yourself and get back that emotion that you had when you were first doing it. And so it becomes a very difficult job for sound and music sometimes to emulate that. And if you have a director who really appreciates what you've done and doesn't want to, they'll fight to make sure you can keep in that original work so you don't lose it, or dampen it by...
So it's not just temp love, it's...
No.
No. And the thing is, that stuff is so fragile.
Exactly.
That's the first stuff that disappears.
It'll kill it. It'll kill. I mean, even to me, even watching
that
it
scene
here,
is
it's
a
not-
miracle because he kept a lot of
It's
a lot
true.
of his original feelings in this.
feelings.
Yeah.
Right.